My great privilege to introduce Professor Tushabe as an esteemed researcher and associate professor at Sorority University. Her passion lies in the dynamic field of artificial intelligence, where she had made significant strides. Let us delve into the remarkable facets of Professor Tushabe's career. AI innovator and visionary, Professor Tushabe's journey began in 2008, where she was first exposed to the captivating world of AI during her PhD studies at the University of Groningen. Her fascination with AI quickly turned into a deep love for this transformative field, intelligent system and object recognition. Professor Tushabe's expertise extends to developing intelligent systems capable of object recognition in images. Her work exemplifies the intersection of cutting-edge technology and practical applications, from traffic signs to skin disease diagnosis. Starting with traffic sign detection, Professor Tushabe has progressed to creating AI components for skin disease diagnosis and speech-to-text recognition. Her commitment to advancing healthcare through AI is commendable. Sickle cell detection. Currently, Professor Tushabe is leveraging AI to detect sickle cells, further demonstrating her dedication to impactful research. Please join me in welcoming Professor Tushabe, a trailblazer in AI and a beacon of innovation, to our webinar today.
Thank you very much for the good introduction. And I'm from Uganda, and I'm right now in Uganda, and this research was done in Uganda. And I'm happy that I've had this opportunity to show it or to discuss with it here with all of you. And I want to also thank Professor Dana, who came to Uganda, and I met her here, and we became friends. And she's the one who actually shared with me the link for this. So as we all know, artificial intelligence cannot work without good data. And right now our project is on sickle cell recognition, which we have done. And so currently the recognition rate is at 95%. But then we are yet to publish that data. First, we had to create a data set. And that's what I'm going to share with you, that we have just done a data set of sickle cells, normal red blood cells, as well as sickle cells. And that's what I'm just going to present for today. So as we all know, sickle cell disease is a public health disorder which affects millions of people across the globe. Unfortunately, it affects mainly Blacks, and we have very many in Eastern Uganda where I did the research from. So it is a genetic condition which is characterized by the production of abnormal red blood cells, which take on the shape of a sickle or a crescent. And this leads to several complications, including anemia, pain, swelling, blindness, stroke, even premature death.
You got muted, Professor Florence. Open the mute button.
Okay, sorry about that. Yes. So thank you for informing me. Otherwise, I was going to speak to myself alone. So currently, there's a big gap in terms of what can be done for sickle cell patients. And the gap is mainly in, I don't know, how do I go to the next slide? Because, okay, yeah, it's good. So there is a gap in terms of data sets. There are no data sets for public use. And yet this data is what can be used in the diagnosis of sickle cells, in the treatment, in the management, and any other interventions that the doctors have for the sickle cell patients. So when we did our literature review, we only found 3 data sets which have the sickle cell images. One had 211 sickled images. And unfortunately, the ones are very few for AI models. They also had 202 normal cells. But then, most importantly, it had artificial images, which were not necessarily picked from the blood samples. Then another one in GitHub had only 12 images. Then on cargo, it had only four images. So if you really, you can see that there's a big gap for such images. And when these images are not there, if this data set is not there, then we can't even do any AI operations. So what we did, we first got ethical approval. This research was approved by the Clark International University Research and Ethics Committee in Uganda under that number, and it was approved. And here is a photo of my teammates. I am the PI of this project, and here is Professor Othieno, Samuel Mwesige, David, and these two students, Emile and Kasule. So here we're in the lab, and we had just got the samples, and we're going to do something to the samples. So what materials did we use? We used 2 microscopes. One is an Optica model B292 PLI, and the other one is an Olympus microscope model MX21I LED FS11. Then we also had some mobile phones. Of course, this research is mainly targeting mobile phones because mobile phones are very common here in Uganda and in other resource-constrained countries. And what we had in mind is that, you see, most of us have smartphones, but we don't have professional phones. So if we have a data set which has professional images only, then it may be a constraint for those solutions which need mobile images which are not professional. So we had our four mobile phones. We had the Techno Spark 7, which has a very good camera. We had a Techno Camon 19 model, which has a very excellent camera. Then we had these ones which have some fair images or cameras which are not as good. So of course, we also needed glass slides, EDTA tubes, electric balance, and the reagents. Why did we need these reagents? Because we are going to process the images. So what was our methodology? We picked blood samples from volunteers in a period of 6 months, from September 2023 to February 2024. And we had 140 volunteers from 3 different places. One is Soweto Regional Referral Hospital, which is a big hospital here in Uganda. One is from Kumi Hospital, which is not so big. And then from Soweto University, where I work, and the student community. These ones, we got negative samples from them. Then the first 2 we got from the patients. Then out of the 140 blood samples, which we collected, 105 were sicklers and 35 were normal. And then all participants provided their written consent, and it was voluntary. And they signed the consent forms and the assent forms. And one of the criteria to be included in the research was that you needed to be a resident in the local districts so that we can easily follow up with you in case of anything. Then we needed people who were aware of their sickle cell status. Why? Because we are going to use screening methods, not the confirmatory methods. So we needed people who are aged at least 1 year and above, and who were fluent in either English or Ateso languages, and who were not sick, because we didn't want to interrupt people's treatments to come and give us blood samples for research. Then the ones who were not qualified, if you're pregnant or if you're 6 weeks and below postnatal, we didn't disturb you. If you are aged less than 1 year old, you were excluded. If you had a blood transfusion at least 2 months prior, we also excluded you. If you were diagnosed with hemophilia, we were also excluded. If you were under cancer chemotherapy or hydroxyurea treatment, you were also excluded. Or if you were sick, mentally sick, then you were excluded. So the methodology that we used, first thing we did was to prepare the reagents. And the reagents were prepared by the process below. 6.8 mils of buffered water was prepared by mixing disodium hydrogen phosphate and potassium dihydrogen phosphate. Now, here in the photo, our team had two groups of people. The first ones were the computer scientists, of which I am a computer scientist, and we were two members who were from the computer science background, and then the other three were from the health sciences. So we have a pathologist, we had a nurse, the student nurse, and then we also had a lab scientist. So the ones who prepared this slide. So if I'm not reading this, I don't know why people in health, they just have very hard words, but in mathematics, you just have X and Y. Anyway, so the people in the lab, they prepared 2 stains. That is the Leishman stain, which was prepared by mixing 0.6 grams of the stain, and the field stain. Then the samples were analyzed in the lab, in our labs, in the university lab, in the biochemistry lab. And this is just a photo where you're just seeing that we had the same sample was analyzed using 2 different means, the field stain and then the Leishman stain. So here are some two examples of 2 images from our data set. And on the left, we can see a Leishman stained image. And on the right, we can see a field stained image. And those people who are in lab science, you can already recognize some sickle cells from these images. So anyway, after that samples were stained, we now took photos. As you can see from the photo on the right, this is one of the members of the team. And you can see the microscope, and he just got the mobile phone and just took the photo just before the lens of the microscope, as you can see, or the eyepiece. We didn't use any additional accessory apart from just a mobile phone and a microscope. Then we can see here that he was teaching me how to use how to take the photos well. And because he became an expert very fast. And for each smear, we took 3 shots, whereby we tried to take from different angles, from different phones with different capacities or different resolutions, and even different people taking. So in our research, we used 2 men and 1 woman and 1 woman. We used to capture the photos, and we tried to capture good photos, clear ones, unclear ones, very nice ones, and even some which are just funny. So the results, because now I'm about to finish my presentation. This one is the results of the demographics. That from our 140 volunteers, the majority were male, but we tried to balance when we were picking the samples. We tried to balance, and so that we have some, so that the difference is not so much. As you can see, the males were around 54%, and then the females were around also 45. So it's almost balancing in terms of gender of the participants. Then the demographics, the majority were from Kumi Hospital. Actually, people in Kumi Hospital were very, very eager to give their samples, and they have asked if we can take back some interventions to help their patients. And most of their patients were young, below 10 years of age. Then the others were from Soroti Regional Referral Hospital, where we only got around 46 samples. And then the negative samples were from the university community. These were all student volunteers who knew their sickle cell status, most of them. And then in terms of age, also we try to balance the ones who are 15 years and below and the ones who are 15 years and above. For the doctors on this call, you probably know that most sicklers die when they are young. So getting people who are above 15 years, they become more and more rare. But then we try to balance. So we had the ones less than 15 years, we're around 50-something, around 53%. Then these ones, the ones above, were also around 47%. So that it can be a mixture. Then, as I said, most of the people knew their sickle cell status because we got them from the hospitals. But then the few whom we had on campus, some of them did not know their sickle cell status. So for those ones, we actually sent their, okay, we used the 2 screening methods. And if the 2 screening methods found that they were negative, then we just told them that they're negative. And then when one gives a positive and one gives a negative, those ones we sent them to the lab in Kampala for confirmation tests. And of the 8 samples that we sent to Kampala, 4 came back when they are carriers. Then the other 4 were negative. Then we had 2 students who feared to come back to give the second sample to send to Kampala for confirmation. But then at least they're aware that they should be able to go and confirm if they have the sickle cell trait, or if they are carriers, or if they are normal. So by the end of the research, all the participants knew their sickle cell status. And I think I've already talked about this. So now the data set. Our data set consists of 569 images. And I must say that it is the biggest data set that we have come across. All our 569 images are genuine, taken from blood samples. There's none which is artificial. There's none which is duplicated, unless these others where you see that you've taken using different cameras. And we resized all the images to a width of 1,000 pixels. So anyway, the ones which are positive for sickle cell were more. We have 422 images which have a sickle cell, at least one sickle cell embedded in it. And then the ones which are negative, we had few, we have 147. And this was done by design because really the negative samples tend to be almost all the same. So we didn't have to have very many of the negative samples. But then the positive ones, you find that some are very sickled, some are slightly sickled. So for those ones, we concentrated on those ones, and we have many images of that. Then in terms of the number of sickle cells per image in the data set, as you can see this chart, the majority have up to 5 sickle cells in the image, followed by none, and followed by 6 to 10. Of course, as you can see that we have very few which had like 15 plus. Actually, we had only 2 images where we saw 15 images plus. And this is because the samples that we got were not from those who were in a crisis, or who were admitted, or who were really sick. They had just come for their routine tests at the clinic. And in those hospitals, they come once a week. So every week you come, they take a malaria test, they give you what, I don't know what they give them, then you go out, you come back again after some time. So because we avoided picking the samples from the sick ones or the ones in crisis, you can see that we have less which have very many sickle cells in them. As I said, we had 422 images which were positive for sickle cell, of which the majority or a bigger sample was using the Leishman stains, and then the field stains were less. So you may ask yourself that why do we have less which were taken by the field stains? This is because we deliberately deleted some images which were very not clear. So those ones we just removed them, and then now we just saw that the Leishman stain somehow for them they had more images which we did not delete. Yes. So this is an example of some of the images that we had. on the left is one of those images which has many sickle cells. As you can see, the sickle cells were labeled by putting a bounding box around the sickle cells. And our laboratory scientist on the team, that is Samuel Mwesige, he's the one who identified for us the sickle cells, and then for us, we just put the bounding boxes. If you see on the right, you can see there's also example of some of the images that are in our data set, and which clearly show that this one is sickle cell, this one is not. This one is using by the images by the field stains. The field stain images have a lot of purple color, and you can see that these ones are some of the images that show the sickle cells which are labeled, and more of the images here. And then the negative images. For the negative images, somehow the field stains were much better than the Leishman stains, unlike in the positive ones, whereby the Leishman stains perform better in terms of seeing the sickle cell. So for the negative images, we have more images by the field stains than by the Leishman stains. And here is just a sample of 2 images which have no sickle cells seen in it. On the left is one by the field stain, on the right is one by the Leishman stain. So now our data set has additional images, 122 images, which we have not counted in the 569 image data set. These ones are like additional. And then like these ones, as you can see, those extra images, it's me who has them. I haven't yet shared them with anybody, but if you want, I can share them with you. And for example, you see on the left is one which is so blurred, a blurred image. Then the one on the right, you can see some background colors, which maybe we wouldn't expect. And then here on the left, we see the image which was cropped a lot, you know. It was cropped on the top. It was also cropped on the right. So such images, we said, let's just exclude them from the data set. Then on the right, we can see an image whereby we have very many overlapping cells, you know. So you can't even know which one is a sickle cell, which one is not, because of the overlappingness. So also those ones, we excluded them from our data set. So where can you find the data set? You can find it at cargo.com. If you just go to cargo.com, Cargo is a platform for AI people, and it has free data sets. Anybody can go and upload data sets there. And the last time I checked, which was last week, we had over 150 downloads from our data set, meaning that those people are and the views, we had 500 and something views, but then the ones who downloaded our data set, we are 153. So if you go to cargo.com, you search for sickle cell disease data set, or if you go to this link here in my slides, then you can just go directly there, and then you can access that data set, you look at it, and you see if you can use it for your AI operations. So in conclusion, I would like to say that this study has resulted in a big data set of microscopic images, which contain both sickle cells and normal red blood cells. And it contains 569 microscopic images, of which 422 are positive for sickle cell and 147 are negative. Then between me and you, we have these other 155 images, which are not clear, but which can also be used by researchers in medical informatics to advance knowledge in sickle cell disease management. Yeah, thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation. And I would like to welcome any questions or comments.
Thank you, Professor Florence, for the most beautiful presentation. I have a question about, is this research that you made, does it save lives in Uganda? Because when you detect sickle cell, then you might as well are able to prevent disease from the child, right? You can help that child that got undetected sickle cell, right?
Yes. Actually, this research, which we have done right now, can save lives. Because right now, if you want to confirm sickle cell, they get your blood sample, they send it to the capital city, and it will take you a month to get back the results, a whole month. And already remember that by the time that the child has gone to the clinic, maybe has been sick, they've been not knowing that they have sickle cells, blah, blah, blah. So they're already sick. Now, some of these results may come back when the child has died. And so these kind of interventions can help in early diagnosis of the sickle cell. I read in the literature review that in some advanced countries, every child is tested for sickle cell at birth as a routine. But for us in resource-constrained countries like in Uganda, we don't have that money to test every child for routine sickle cell status. So now this can help us because it is a cheap way of diagnosing a sickle cell, because we have lab technologists in the labs. They can just take the slide, and then even some health centers in Uganda, they don't have lab technologists. Then they have midwives, they have nurses, they have doctors. So these ones can actually do the staining, and then we use this to actually say that, no, this is a sickle cell or it is not. Because some of the cells look like sickle cells, but when they are not sickle cells. So if you find maybe a nurse or a doctor, he may get confused. Is this a sickle cell? Is it no? But then if you pass it through our app, as I said, we have developed an app, and it has 95% accuracy on if it's a sickle cell or not. 95% accuracy. Yes.
Oh my God, that can be used just by anybody on the phone, your app.
Yeah.
It's amazing, all
phone.
around the world. And the entire, oh my God, that's great. That's fantastic.
Yes.
Did you finish the app? You should sell it. Is it ready to use?
We have finished the app. I even went and exhibited it last month in some exhibition, and just that I have just written the paper, but by within 2 weeks the paper should be out, and then I send it to to a journal. But then the app is there, and people at my university are happy about it. And now what is needed is to just maybe carry out bigger tests nationwide, and more visibility and dissemination. Yeah.
Imagine with your app, if you can detect sickle cell all around the African world, of people of African descent, all over Africa, all over Europe, all over South America, and detect like this without even going to the doctor, and the privacy of their home with the phone, detect sickle cell. Would that be wonderful? That'd be wonderful.
It would be most wonderful. It would be most wonderful.
Maybe you can package it, to teach the microscope, the staining, and that you can package it. So any doctor around the world, they can get that, the microscope, the staining, and the app.
And the phone, mobile phone.
Yes, everybody we assume that they might have a mobile phone already.
Yeah, that's true.
Wow, that would be great. That would be fantastic. So good luck. That's wonderful. That's amazing. I'm so privileged to hear your beautiful research. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you, Professor Dana. Yeah.
I must say to you all that our friendship, it happens organic in Uganda, and I've been visiting Professor Florence twice. So I'm very honored to visit her and honored to have her as my friend. And as you know, she is one of those very amazing PhD professors. And I think Uganda is very lucky to have you.
Prof, you're very kind.
No, true, no kind. I'm not kind. It's just the truth. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
You're an inspiration for all of us.
Thank you very much.
We have we will have also the panel, the how you call it? It's going to be the panel, so if you can please stay and contribute to this panel that we will start now with our lovely Dr. Jungen and Dr. Francesco. And then let's organize for everybody if we can make it to United Nations in October. We will organize a United Nations activity in October. And wouldn't that be nice to present your work at the United Nations? I hope
It
that
would be fantastic.
Yes, yes, yes. So tell me, what level of microscope do you need for your how performant? Like some settings, they might not have.
No, we just need any microscope which can have times 100 zoom.
That's it. 100.
Yeah. Yes.
That's great. Monica, you want to say something?
No, nothing now.
So 100, a microscope of 100 with the phone, and then your app, and that's it. You will sell it as a package, then you get funds for furthering the research. You know, it's amazing. It's so good. As you know, we really try to get grants, research grants, to Uganda and to all the other places. So please don't forget to really apply either to private grants or to another thing very important. When you publish, make sure you publish the Q1 journal. Q1 journal. Scopus, you search on Scopus, which are the Q1 journals, and only publish on Q1 journals. That is an absolute must. Q1 journal, grants application, search for private grants, they're easier to get. Governmental grants here in United States, you know, you have to learn the filter of the application setting, but here in United States, they are grants easier to get in the smaller states than in big academic states like New York, Massachusetts, California. They get lots of grants. So the government wants to give grants to smaller states. Then there are all kinds of grants, like for the young people, and then for the, you know, the specific grants. So one can only hope, but that is a whole job on its own, the application for the grants. So I think finally that's a job for an accountant, and we are scientists. We don't have the training to be accountants and to make nice spreadsheets with, and then the budgeting for research is so difficult, right?
Yeah. Sorry, ma'am. Shall we go to the next?
Thank you again, Dr. Florence. We love you. We love you.
If you permit me.